Whether your beer is in a bottle, can, or glass, kick back and relax. It's Better on Draft.
Oh, is Oscar Blues here?
Welcome, everybody, to the Better on Draft, episode 268. My name is Ken. Thank you so much for joining us. I do believe in our post we said that Oscar Blues was going to be here. They are not. They no-showed us a few weeks ago, and we're still bitter about it. But with that in mind, we do have a very special guest, former co-host Matt Bush. How are you doing today, and what are you drinking?
I think you built me up way too much. I currently have the Chinook ones. I did a little bit of show homework. It's show homework. Jam X Brewing Company. It's a little Chinook hopped IPA. I also have another local beer here for later. It's nice and it's cloudy. It's dark. You would almost think it's an amber the way it looks. But yeah, I just I got the call up to the from the bullpen, and here I am, throwing rocket fire at fastballs right down the plate. How are you today, Ken?
I'm well, thank you. I am actually participating and doing my damnedest for Sober October. So I am staying sober throughout the month of October. So I have some Ritual Zero Proof whiskey alternative, and I'm mixing it with the Diet Vernors. Because
I put you onto that, didn't I? I put you onto that. Give me the credit.
I was going to say, just for you, brought in the Diet Vernors. But yeah, this is only like 10 calories per shot. It's basically all carbohydrates, all sugar. And we had it during the dry January back in 2020 when we were in the real world. Still doing shows in a studio, no longer going back to that studio, but we are here. Wendy, you are here. Welcome. What are you drinking?
I am doing mostly Sober October. There's too many beer festivals this month for me to give up beer completely.
How about Damptober?
Yeah, we could do Damptober. It doesn't sound as fun as Damp January, but so I would just say mostly sober. Since I am in school right now, so during the week, I don't drink as much beer. But I'm drinking a Jovial from Trogs. That is my unicorn right now that I hope that we get to interview them. So that's the one I went with today. I also have my last Parish beer on tap. The Caribbean Shade is going to be up next.
Oh, that's a big hitter you got over there.
I have to interject immediately. And I'm not on Wendy. So if there's a Sober October, why isn't there Dry July? Because that seems a lot more sensical than whatever they call it in January.
So Dry January, to my knowledge, is a European thing. That's just kind of where it came from. It's that's where it came from, Dry January. That's all. Sober October, if I'm not mistaken, is from, I think Joe Rogan was a huge proponent of it. And that's how it kind of got a little bit bigger.
Is that pre or after post invectomectomine, whatever he took? Ivermectin.
Pre.
Okay. I know we don't want to get into politics, but I just had to ask. But no, I don't listen to Joe Rogan. I just thought I didn't know that Dry July was a thing.
Dry January is, to my knowledge, a European thing, and we kind of took it over like we do with most things in Europe.
What European countries do Dry January? Because I know Italy's not stopping drinking wine. Is this like a California sober thing where they still drink their red wines, but they say they're sober? The Germans still have their couple breakfast beers and they still say they're sober?
I mean, possibly. I don't know. I don't think it's a specific country as much as it was just kind of like a thing within Europe itself.
Because as they said in Eurotrip, I really feel like we left that continent because of our Puritan forefathers, but we should have stayed on that kinky continent.
Well, you know what? I think this episode, we're going to be kind of digging around through a lot of different things. And there was actually a news article that I wanted to bring up throughout the show, and I think this is something that we can discuss between the three of us. I think a lot of us have had different takes within the industry itself. But there is, and it's going a little offshoot to get there. It's going to be a long walk, so please stay with me. But Tilray, which is a global cannabis firm, which recently purchased Sweetwater Brewing late last year over in Atlanta, Georgia. they're hoping for the decriminalization of marijuana complements of Chuck Schumer's bill that was occurred back in July of 2021. Obviously, they're not reliant on this bill. They're not putting all their eggs in this specific basket to continue their growth, but hoping to see it grow throughout the coming years as states begin to decriminalize marijuana. Most recently, also, Governor Gavin Newsom over in California just signed into law the ability to have CBD-infused products and regulate the sale of the product. If you are in Michigan, obviously, I'm sure you've seen CBD quote-unquote products in every single gas station, liquor store, CVS, wherever you probably buy anything in the world, and those aren't necessarily regulated, so it's best to be very mindful when you're purchasing those types of products. But obviously, this will allow for brands that are in the market, that do well in the market, to sell. Now, to bring it back to what Matt was said, I personally believe that, us Americans have it wrong when it comes to alcohol because we demonize it from an early age and we don't respect it like other countries do. A lot of other countries introduce alcohol to their youth at a very young age, especially with table beers that are low ABV, that they can drink without getting drunk, and also is not going to mentally affect them for partaking in the alcohol itself. I believe this is why we, as the United States, are ahead on overindulging, because we demonize it, and behind a bit on the marijuana train, which we will probably do the same if and when we legalize or decriminalize, however you want to put it, marijuana.
Well, I mean, states decriminalize federally. It has to be rescheduled. So if you want to get into the technicalities, because it'll always be a scheduled narcotic, it just has to be removed from Schedule 1.
Correct. Yeah, there are a lot of nuances that could happen between completely decriminalizing it, rescheduling it, legalizing it, etc. I guess my question to you guys is that what's your guys' opinions on how we look at alcohol and marijuana within the United States? And do you see companies like Tilray, a huge cannabis firm that could purchase a nice-sized brewery, gambling to bring in marijuana as well as probably marijuana-infused products, including beer? I'll start with Wendy there.
Well, I think that you are 100% correct in that we demonize it, and that's where a lot of our issues stem from. Because
Did we lose her?
Nope, she's still here.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so I feel like it's that old adage of when you were little that you want what you can't have. So the reason that kids and a lot of people to this day are overindulging is because they're never taught how to use it properly, and we make it so that it's cool because it's not accessible, I guess is the way that I want to look at it.
I mean, both of you have had Euro trips, I believe. Wendy, you've been to Europe, right?
I have not.
Oh, okay. I know Matt has, which is why I kind of said both of you. But Matt, I mean, you've been to Europe. You've obviously seen the culture there. What do you think of the culture differences between the United States and America, and how do you think that would react with marijuana should it be legalized in the U.S.?
So, I mean, full disclosure, I've got a lot of stock in both marijuana companies as well as psilocybin companies, because I think both of those are going to be open to the market here in the next 5-10 years. I'm not a marijuana user. I'm epileptic and it really fucks with my epilepsy. So, I mean, it's just not something that I personally enjoy because I melt. It fucks with my head and I just can't do it. So I just don't. I think alcohol in Europe, if in Germany, for instance, which I don't want to say I'm an expert, but that's where I'm more comfortable talking on. They typically let you start drinking in public at 18 and drinking at 16, driving at 18. And then you go to university at 19, 20. So in general, the concept of introducing alcohol to your student, family member at a younger age and like coaching them through how to drink, what to do, like when they know that they've reached their limit. I feel that's the crucial step that we don't get as kids. I'm sure you and I, Ken, probably had similar situations coming from immigrants like every Sunday, family would meet, and I'd have a schnapps on Grandpa's knee, and I'd put my finger into the shot of Christian Brothers and drink it and say, all right, it's okay. But that was from 5 to 6, maybe a little bit older for you, Ken. But I think the acceptance of drinking in the European culture is all about coaching the youth on how to be productive adults. That's why I think countries like Italy and Spain have that siesta period where they don't work from like noon to 3 usually. You have a long lunch, you have a 3 martini lunch, you just kind of relax, and you go back to work from like 3 to 9. But I mean, we might as well talk about, South Asian culture, because it's just not how we are, because we're so bottom line driven, productivity, no weekends, just full on work. So I think we would do good to regulate. Like, I would like to see when Darko Milicic was a Detroit Piston, he was drafted as a 17-year-old, and he bought a house in Bloomfield Township and had a party at 18. He was Serbian. You're allowed to drink as an 18-year-old in Serbia. So he had a giant party with people his age. I think he met them at like Somerset Mall and local high school kids after like prom or high school or homecoming. Got into a bunch of trouble because of it, obviously. I'd like to see that law changed as much as I'd like to see the marijuana laws and psilocybin laws be rescheduled. Because if I would have had maybe a year of drinking before I went to college, I think I'd have been more productive, kind of like to your earlier point. Sorry, that took way too long.
No, I think you bring up a really valid point, and your comment about college is obviously spot on. At least my experience with going to Michigan State or U of M or Central on a Friday, Saturday to visit friends, and you were drinking and you were overindulging because you're drinking in the dorm room. You're not drinking at a bar. You're drinking in secret, and therefore you're drinking as much as you can because you don't know if it'll end that night. Like if somebody will, what do they call them, RA or ROs or whatever?
RA, resident assistants or residence hall directors, RHDs. I got popped with one of those at Central.
Would come in, and most of them, their job, they're just going to take it away and just do what they can to end the party. But that's what you were worried about. Whereas if I had the ability to kind of learn, and a lot of my influencers growing up regarding alcohol weren't necessarily the best influences of alcohol. And as much as, we joke about it, and with Dan was not necessarily the best influencer when it came to me drinking alcohol. And that's not a slam against Dan.
How dare you?
He's a 20-something, guy at that time. I'm 18, 19. He's taken me to Canada. Like, it's not his fault. It's at all. Like, it's just because I didn't grow, the opportunities that were given to me usually involved me hanging out with Dan, and therefore those are the times where I probably overdrank. And it's the same with, and being a little personable, like my father was a big drinker. Dewar's, that was his drink of choice. Dewar's on the rocks with water, usually scotch and water. And he at one point quit too. And he's always been very, while that was something that he did, he was still very, he allowed me to experiment with alcohol without allowing me to go over, but also in the same sense, he hid very well the demons he was fighting while he was drinking. And I commend him because even when I turned 21, he was sober and he still hasn't taken any type. I've seen him drink 2 sips of alcohol since then. One was for when my grandfather passed away, and another was for another day that I like to forget.
Sorry.
That's okay. But that's the thing, though, is that he understood like what he was doing, and he kind of fixed it. And for me, I have definitely overindulged. I made plenty of mistakes. I definitely driven when I shouldn't have. But it's one of those things to where I think if I had a better cultural life surrounding me, I don't think I would have made a lot of the alcoholic mistakes that I did. But Nick's going to be joining here in a minute, but I'm curious, Wendy, what was your introduction into alcohol?
So my parents did not drink very often. They would drink occasionally, so it wasn't like they were saying don't ever do this. So I think that I just didn't have any influence really when it came to that until I got into my later high school years. And at that point, that's when it kind of went a little crazy, I guess I want to say. College was crazy. We did go to Canada all the time. But then by the time we hit 21, it just wasn't as big of a deal, I think. We went a little crazy when we were younger. And then as an adult, there was a period where I made a lot of poor choices. But now I guess it's just a learning curve that's happened, which if I'd had a little more guidance when I was younger, I might have not gone through some of those changes as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of the things that we go through, I think we have late regret development, and I think you can coin that term. I think there's a lot of people in Europe that when they get the opportunity to drink with their families as a 16, 15, 18-year-old, I know I did those numbers out of order, but like they do things that they regret, but on a minor scale, because they're younger and they have less access to it and they're supervised. Whereas, God, the things that I did from like 19 to 22 and probably still to 25 might get me imprisoned. And because it delayed, like the American society delays our social development as it occurs to alcohol, I think it furthers, it adds to us being stupid adults. I'm still learning today. One day I could have 3 or 4, and then the next day I'll have 3 or 4, and I'll feel like absolute shit. Like I went up to Central, not last weekend, but the weekend before, and I drank on a Friday night. I had White Claws on a Saturday, and I felt like I was paying a hangover with interest on Sunday. So I just think that like we hinder ourselves by the archaic rules of the silly ass Puritans.
Well, let's bring Nick in. Hello, Nick. First of all, what are you drinking? And welcome to the 6th anniversary.
I know I'm a little late to the party, but we all know why.
Yep.
I'm drinking. I'm actually going non-alcoholic tonight, but I'm drinking Two Roots Straight Drank IPA and a Two Roots Enough Said Helles. So,
Nick, are you on the sober October train or just taking it easy tonight?
I'm just taking it easy tonight. It's
All
been
right.
another long week in the books, and I really wanted to try this IPA because I believe there's multiple of these in my fridge, and I just don't realize it. So I wanted to give it a shot, and not bad for an NA. Pretty good.
Well,
I had that in my fridge too. It's a little bit funky. I couldn't finish them.
Couldn't finish them.
As you were joining us, we were discussing the American outlook on how we view alcohol and specifically marijuana too, because we were talking about the legalization of marijuana and marijuana-like products getting put into the market in the United States. So our question, what we were kind of talking about, is our introduction into alcohol, and do you think there could have been a better introduction for you should we have taken a more European approach where it's a little bit more casual and they teach you about alcohol as opposed to demonize it, which a lot of us in America do?
I feel like we could have. That's fun. Hold that thought. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Man, Brody is not sleeping very well through the night these days.
No, damn, that exploded. I'm gonna have to. So that's at around the 1945 mark. I'll have to edit that out for sure. But go on, Wendy.
So I do want to bring up too that when I was younger, I didn't drink beer at all. I thought it was horrible. I didn't understand why people wanted to drink that. So my introduction to alcohol came from liquor, straight up. When we were going to Canada, it was liquor. When we were drinking at home, it was liquor. I mean, if Mad Dog 2020 counts as liquor, but because when you're in high school, that's what you can afford. But so that's a little bit different, I think, than some of my friends who were drinking the Budweisers and the Miller Lights and stuff when we were growing up.
So to that point, I actually had the inverse. I mean, I was drinking liquor, but I was drinking Heinekens before I was drinking Bud Lights. I didn't learn how to drink a beer. Like, I think there's a science behind drinking a beer that it's like how to smoke a marijuana cigarette. Like, you just think that you do it a certain way, but there's actually kind of a rhythm and a reason on you put the beer on your tongue, you taste it, you swallow, that you don't get as just, sitting in a quick stop parking lot and just chugging it. I mean, I think the first time I was given a beer was my friend's, like, I was at my friend's house and he gave us we got a Dos Equis out of his dad. I was like 12 or 13, but like the original Zimas or Jamaican Me Crazies from Bartles and James or Michelob with the full ribbon tears. Yeah. Cause like German house, we would hit in the basement playing video games and all the beer was in the basement with the, in the, Ken, did your grandma have her little room? It's like, it probably had like preserves and sausages and like the laundry machines. And there was also a beverage in there.
There was the little like side kitchen, which had basically all of the fixings, and that's where she kept all her pasta sauce, like a refrigerator just for all that. And
we had like a 1960s Frigidaire freezer with sausage and casings and krauts and all that stuff. And the next to that, a 1960s fridge that still worked, but they kept it in the basement because they had 80 stuff in the upstairs and they didn't want to throw it away. So all of the beer was in the beer fridge downstairs, and that's where the kids played. So if I'm playing, Nintendo 64 Raw in 1999, and there's a Michelob there, and it's been sitting there for 2 to 3 years because nobody comes down here to drink beer anymore, I'll help myself. And I'm getting crushed as my creative character by Stone Cold Steve Austin, but I feel cool because I have a beer when I'm playing video games.
Yeah, I did not have that family, that family intimacy with alcohol at all. It was a very, very just people drank, but there was no like, I didn't have that grandfather who gave me, like, I probably gave my grandfather a beer before he gave me a beer, in my life. And it just, there wasn't really a whole, hey, you're 21 here, let's have a beer. Hey, you're 21 in the family. It was, because especially I'm also the baby of the family too. And it was getting to the point by the time that I turned 21, all the people in the family were also 21. So at the parties, they're like, bring your own damn beer, because all the kids were old enough to drink. And so, yeah.
But then did you get cousins who would slip you beers because you were the one of age?
No.
Wow, your cousins fucking suck, man.
We had my
cousins fucking suck.
So there's in my family, there was me and my cousin Derek, and then like the next cousin above was already at 21. They were like 26 or 27. Like there's this huge gap in between like my territory of cousins versus other cousins.
No, that's bullshit. I've got crazier cousins than that.
Yeah, I never recall getting any booze from any cousins during family time. They probably, because Patty would have beat the shit out of them if they did. Let's be honest. My mother would not have allowed that.
Patty's a little bruiser.
Not that she had anything. Like my mother was never a drinker, anyways. Like she'll have a glass of wine at most. But Nick, welcome back.
Yeah, sorry about that. That's the beauty.
Was that Brody or was that Boomer?
What's that?
Was that Brody or Boomer?
No, Brody's upstairs trying to go to bed. That was Boomer. I don't know if they. Yeah, it was the dog. The dog is a lot more louder than my kid.
So the question to you is that how was your upbringing with regards to alcohol as a child?
So it definitely was not amongst family. It was more friends.
Harper Woods.
No, actually, no. It wasn't even. I really didn't. After like high school, I didn't really hang out with anyone from high school. Like it was like like, you know, the mutual friends that Ken and I have amongst the old laser tag crowd. Those are the guys that I hung out with the most. A good chunk of them stood up in my wedding. Ken, you were one of them.
I already
Those are the
called
ones.
Dan out for being a bad influence on me.
So, but most of my drinking influences came from outside of the family, away from high school, the friends that I had outside of high school. And it wasn't until I was actually like 20, at least 21, you know, before I started having drinks in front of my family. Like, I remember one time we went to Dally in the Alley. And for those that aren't familiar with Dally in the Alley, it's a street fair in Midtown Detroit, just down the street from Wayne State. Tons of fun. Local bands, beer, everything. And he wanted to, in Motor City Brewing Works, had a stand there. And so he wanted, like, hey, what's the dark beer? I'm like, it's Ghetto Blaster. And I'm like, here, let me try it. And then next thing you know, him and I are walking down one of the streets at Dally in the Alley, drinking Motor City Brewing Works Ghetto Blaster. And that was like one of the very first times him and I started drinking like together. It was like when I was like in my early to mid 20s, and I didn't have that family upbringing. But I think if we did it more like the Europeans did, I think it would be a little bit more different in this country, as opposed to demonizing it. As I think, Ken, you said it, demonizing it, and maybe things would be a little bit different in this country. But you know, that's kind of how I got my upbringing.
Well, before I'll go on, Matt.
I just think that, but to be fair, I think there are other social concerns you'd have about changing the drinking age. Like, for instance, the reason why we have a 21-year-old age limit to drink is because it's part of the National Highway Traffic Safety Bill.
Yeah.
Where the federal government says, hey, if you want our highway money, that has to be your state law. So there's a lot of other stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong.
There's some politics behind it.
I would be pro drinking age being 14 in private, and I would still want, but the thing is, I tell you every time, I hate babies in breweries. I don't want 15-year-olds in my breweries. Like, it should be like 14 to 18. You can drink at home, but don't get in my house. Don't come to my fucking brewery. Drink your Busch Lights, drink your Hams, drink your fucking Zimas and White Claws in your basement like a fucking adult, and, you know, fall asleep on your side. But yeah, none of that. Oh, you're 16. You can go out to the bars. No, you can go to Capone's, but you'll get murdered.
There's a lot to think about with having a drinking age, and most people, like, if your kid's drinking while you're at, you know, they're at a family party or something like that, to be honest, I doubt most cops or police or, you know, nobody really cares as long as they're not like out running about and causing a pain in the ass for them. I know there are states that allow you at 18 to drink at a bar if you're with a adult, and obviously you can't drive. Louisiana, I believe, is one of them. And there's certain if this then that's that need to occur. We've done this before on another episode where we talked about
if you get in your crawdad fan boat, then yeah, you can drink it at whatever age.
But I want to go through because a few people have been chatting in the Facebook chat, I believe. Karen is bar hopping over in Eastern Market right now. They're at Lager House number 5 and going to Eastern Market Brewing right after this.
Have you guys been to Lager House number 5?
Yeah, I got to tell you something about that place after this show.
Okay, yeah, I probably have a similar story then.
Go on, Wendy.
I would like to point out that tonight is the Brave Brew, I think they called it. It is the Detroit Girls Pint Out beer that they made regarding the whole Brave Noise is the name of the beer that they made in reference to the situation that happened a few months ago on social media with Brianna, I think is her name.
Yep, Rat Magnet. That's the shirt that I'm wearing.
Yes, love it.
I've got the shirt on.
I'm really bummed because I wanted to get there before the show, and the new job is a little bit more cumbersome than I was hoping for today. But I didn't get to make it. So I'm going to go try it tomorrow. But if you are out and about anywhere near the Eastern Market area, go and check them out because they're having a party today.
Also,
you're on mute, Matt.
Is that a Ferndale project as well?
I don't know. I know that they're having it at Eastern Market. I don't know if they've released it at Ferndale Project.
Also in the chat, we do have Gluten-Free Brian, who was a guest on the show. He talked about vodka and Jägermeister. Guessing that was his introduction to alcohol.
But not together, right? Not together?
I
hope not.
He also says when he first introduced to alcohol, it was all about getting drunk, which I think is a cultural thing that we have because, again, it's passé. It's against the law. You shouldn't be drinking at 18, 19, 20. And two, you need to drink as much as you can before somebody catches you. Because the longer you're drinking, the more chances you get caught. He says not together. But for him now, it's obviously about enjoying the flavor of the beverage. For me, and I'm going to put a bow on this because I want to bring back the conversation. Because Wendy, you were talking about how you were a liquor drinker growing up before you got to the beer side. Matt, you were drinking Heine's. For me, when I was going to Canada and stuff, I really did not like liquor itself. I didn't like mixed drinks. And it was always a pain in the ass and always expensive to get those, but it was always cheap to get beer. So I would always get beer, but the problem is that you can only drink so much beer before your friends get drunk off shots that you have to be the parent. And it turned out my love for beer turned me into the parent for a lot of those friends. And I think a lot of those friends would probably have not done drank the way they drank if they had drank before. Like that was their ability. If they could have a nightcap on a Tuesday night or a Wednesday night, without it being, because I think the big thing too is that just being illegal. If it would just stop being illegal, people wouldn't care. Just like if a brewery comes into the state of Michigan, people care for a week and then nobody cares. Poor literally every brewery that comes into our state after they make a release. Modern Times has it right, though. They just kind of like bring in a little bit at a time and keeps everybody's eye going. I want to continue the conversation with something a little bit different because I want to have a little bit of fun here. And that our friends over at Anheuser-Busch InBev is going to be releasing a 24-pack variety pack. This 24-pack is going to feature 13 different types from 7 craft breweries. That's their words, not mine, including Goose Island, Kona, Widmer Brothers, and more. So you're going to be getting 24 different beers in this 24-pack from all of their craft beer labels. My question to you guys is that even if it's a seasonal or a special drop, I would love to see this more for breweries, throwing this together once a quarter or even once a year. And where would you want to see a mixed 6-pack from released maybe once a year? I'm going to start with Nick here. Where do you? Because I mean, you're big into the 12 days of milkshake stout, but I'm talking like regular brands, like not the Founders Advent Calendar where you're paying $6 for a can of all day IPA. Where would you want to see a mixed 6-pack or a 12 or 24 or whatever? Like, is there a brewery where you could be like, oh, it would be nice if I could just have one of all of these?
Oh man. Like recent or like someone like a favorite?
Sure. Yes.
Oh gee, that's not even fair.
I mean, it's not like picking a favorite kid. You only have.
No, I know.
You got Boomer too.
Oh jeez. I would say one that I always seem to, that I have not had in a very, very long time that I would love to see like a mixed 6-pack of would be. And I know these guys get shit on all the time. It would be Atwater. Atwater was, one of my very first, like outside of Dragon Meat, Atwater was one of the first ones that I remember that I can recall off the top of my head that I was exposed to in the craft brewing. And that would be one that that you can shit on all you want, but face the facts, they make some pretty damn good beer. I mean, that would be one that I would love to see a mixed 6-packs of Maybe I want Dirty Blonde. Maybe I want Double Mint Decadent. Maybe I want Vanilla Java Porter.
Just want a
I
little
know
bit of
there's
everything.
yeah, a little bit of El Rojo, Grindline. I would like to have a little bit of everything because I know I can get down on all those beers I just mentioned, and I know that they're solid.
Griffin Club beer.
Yes, it is.
Oh, I'm sorry, not El Rojo. I don't remember.
That's okay. We know what you're saying.
But the fact is that you can get down on any single one of them. Thank you for correcting me, though.
Wendy, what about you?
Well, I think that I would go with one of the tried and true breweries like Dragon Mead or Kuhnen's. I would hope that the mix pack would be like of a variety, like these are our Belgians or something along those lines, so that you're getting the true flavor of their variety within each style.
Like a theme.
Yeah, but as far as like new breweries that really excite me, I would want a mixed six pack from City Boat, because man, every time I go there, I love whatever I have.
What about you, Matt? You going to be a homer?
Actually, I fully agree with Wendy. I think if you had like a $50 12 pack from Dragon Mead and you had like the Final Absolution, the Sin Eater, the Kaiser Kolsch, the Red Wing Raspberry, the Castle Bright, and then you went into their stouts or Irishes, you would have a great thing. I'm going to go with two bigger brands, one really big, one small. The one I would be super excited would be Magic Hat. If I could get a Magic Hat like 6-pack of the number 9, but then a sprinkle of their other stuff. They usually have a lot of good stuff in they're pretty popular in their variety pack, but the beer doesn't sell. I don't like they had they were first to the IPL line, India Pale Lager. They had a beverage called Dream Machine, which I thought was amazing, but it's shit because nobody knew what it was, and it was from fucking Magic Hat. So who the fuck knows? The other one would be Sam Adams. I don't think Adams. I don't think that they've flexed their muscle even remotely, because if you get into a 24 pack of mixed Sam Adams, you could have like 2 Boston Lagers, 2 Oktoberfest.
You could add all their Dogfish Head stuff too.
Yeah, Twisted Teas, Trulies. Like you could literally have a mixed pack of everything that anybody could possibly want from that area. And then like their Porch Rocker is a great shandy. It tastes like Fruity Pebbles. They're Cold Snap. Like they have so many good beers that you just don't get. They have their 2 rotating seasonals, but then they have other beers that just don't release. So if I could have a 24 pack, it would be Sam Adams 24 pack or a Magic Hat 12. But you know what? I'm gonna text Spencer to see if I can get a 12 pack of Dragon's Landing mixed varieties.
Well, the reason I ask, and it was interesting that nobody had brought it up, but there is a brewery that has this yearly, and it's because of a bunch of collaborations that they do, and that's Sierra Nevada with their beer camp. And back in the day, which it's been a minute since I've truck chased, but beer camp was really widely sought after. Everybody wanted it because they wanted to try all the different beers. No 2 beers were the same. There was a lot of variety, and that's what people were looking for when they were getting the beer camp. I believe that there are, whether it's breweries or collaborations, like if we can get breweries, for example, Matt, would you pay for a subscription? Yes. I'm being honest when I say, would you pay for a subscription where if like you're over in St. Clair Shores quarterly, they release a 24 pack, 4 6-packs, and it's a Dragon's Landing, Jam X, Copper Hop, Baffin collaboration. All 4 work on 4 different beers, release it quarterly. It's like a subscription base, and you get a 24 pack of those beers given to you every quarter, every 3 months.
Well, I've actually had this idea like 3 years ago where they all brew the same base of beer, but they take their own recipe to it, and then it gets voted on and the winner gets money. So yeah, the thing is, I don't like takeout beer anymore because I want to be in the breweries, because I don't want to just sit at home and play Madden and drink alcohol anymore. I've kind of gotten over that phase. Like weirdly enough, this is the like probably the 3rd time all month that I've drank. And I guess it's only 8 days in, so that's not huge, but My consumption has drastically reduced over the last year and a half. But I would rather, if you had 4 breweries like that, I'd rather them all brew the same beer, their same way, and then have a competition of who has the better one, and then the winner donates their proceeds to a school or a local charity, or they get a belt and I don't know, whatever the business equivalent of a high five is.
Well, that's definitely an idea, because I know over in the west side of the state, Two Guys and Three Gatos, and I believe there's a third brewery. I can't think of the name of it, and I do apologize.
Brewery number?
No, it's not 424. Different part of the side of the state. With that, they do a lot of collaborations, and I think that if they were to do collaborations where they had monthly to go, where they had, I think you could easily secure automatic payments from customers to where customers would pay for that beer, it already be sold, and whatever's left is still in the keg to be sold at the brewery. But what you're saying is not a bad idea too, where everyone makes the beer of the month, and you have that beer of the month, and you could hit all 4 of the breweries in your area, Jamex, Copper Hop, Dragon's Landing, and Baffin, and be like, all right, I hit all 4. This is the one that I like. It'd be the same if we did it.
It'd be like an Iron Chef, like Iron Brewer. And then the thing is, you would have to get there would have to be a 4-digit code.
Well, I don't think you necessarily have to make it into a competition as much as you're making it for people to just want to go to an excuse to go to the breweries that day. Oh, I'm going to hop to all 4. I know which truck's going to be at which spot.
That's dangerous, man. I'm a veteran of that, man. That'll put you down for a day at this point. Especially you get into stouts, you get into Imperials.
Well, I don't think that's.
You better do that on a Saturday because you're not going to get up till Monday.
I'm looking at I'm very much that person that you are marketing to when you do something like that. If there is a beer that everybody is making their version of to support some type of cause, I'm in for it. Yep. If there is a 6-pack of a whole bunch of different beers that I can get a subscription to, I'm in for it. One, because I like things to be easy and I like variety. Yes. So a 6-pack or a 12-pack of mixed beers from different breweries that I really like, I would be all for that.
We do have, guys, before we take a break, I want you to know that we are live every Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern. You can join us on Facebook.com/BetterOnDraft or on Twitch.tv/Bod Podcast, like Bites is over in our Twitch, saying hello and what's going on. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We'll be a little bit more of the news segment for episode 268 of the Better on Draft podcast. And then making its comeback, it's probably been a long time coming, but we will have 5 questions with Matt Bush to end the show during our King of the Hill phase. So we will be right back with.
We can do King of the Hill too. We can just have 4 segments.
We can. We'll figure it out. But we'll be right back with the Better on Draft podcast.